We are compelled once again to express our disappointment that the majority of Security Council members indulge the attempts of certain states to cast doubt on objective procedural realities. They are the ones who bear full responsibility for all the ramifications of the decision to hold a meeting on a non-existent agenda item, as well as for the broader legal arbitrariness instigated in the Security Council in connection with the Iranian nuclear program narrative. We are grateful to our colleagues who demonstrated a principled and objective stance and did not support holding this meeting. Mr. President, the Russian Federation's position regarding the supposed reinstatement of anti-Iran Security Council resolutions is well known to everyone. We have voiced this position at dozens of official UN meetings. The most recent one is the Security Council briefing on the work of the so-called 1737 committee held about a month ago. Therefore, we will not delve into the details on the reasons why the United Kingdom, France, and Germany had no right to trigger the snapback. Anyone willing to refresh their memories may refer to our numerous statements, as well as to the letters circulated in the Security Council by Russia, China, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Instead, we would like to point out that even our Western colleagues, who are supposed to have a good grasp of Security Council procedures, appear to clearly realize the untenability of their claims that Resolution 2231 remains in effect and that its full mandate and reporting cycle is being maintained. This is aptly illustrated by how selectively the initiators of today's meeting interpret the Presidential Note S/2016/44 as a rationale for holding this meeting. We view this as further confirmation that Security Council Resolution 2231 is no longer in force, and that certain elements of the mandate stemming from the resolution are simply being used by Western countries not because procedure requires it, but because it is in line with their policy of exerting pressure on Iran. However, while the politically motivated actions of Western states and delegations loyal to them come as no surprise, the fact that the leadership of the UN Secretariat has joined their ranks is categorically unacceptable. The Secretary-General's report is not merely a document drafted by Mr. António Guterres, one for which he bears personal responsibility. In essence, the publication of this report is yet another flagrant violation by the Secretary-General of his mandate and the decisions of the Security Council, which were set forth in Resolution 2231. We will not delve into the content of the report, especially since there is not much to delve into. But what we will note is the fact that the continued publication of such reports, along with other unlawful steps taken by the Secretariat, such as notifying member states of the purported reinstatement of anti-Iranian Security Council resolutions, restoring the website of the Committee 1737 and its sanctions list, as well as attempts to establish its panel of experts, constitutes nothing less than a violation of Article 100 of the UN Charter. We reject such arbitrary actions by the Secretariat and demand that its leadership immediately rectify them. Mr. President, turning to the Iranian nuclear issue as a whole, we cannot but note the cynical attempt by Western countries to lay their own faults onto someone else's doorstep. It is an open secret that the crisis surrounding the implementation of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, was prompted by the unilateral withdrawal of the USA from it back in 2018. In this regard, we are perplexed by such strong pronouncements from the U.S. delegation in support of Security Council Resolution 2231. The crisis was then exacerbated because the European participants in the nuclear deal were unable to fulfill their obligations. Subsequently, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and their cheerleaders not only further escalated the situation through their claims about triggering the snapback, but also effectively endorsed the U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iranian territory, including on civilian nuclear facilities under the IAEA safeguards. Time and again, we hear from these delegations the same concoctions about a supposed threat emanating from the Iranian nuclear program. Moreover, these assertions are based solely on their own conjecture, since the Iranian leadership has repeatedly reaffirmed, and continues to reaffirm, that it has no intention of acquiring nuclear weapons, and the IAEA has not once, I stress this, not once, documented any evidence that nuclear material in Iran has been diverted to military purposes. Time and again, our European and US colleagues call upon Tehran to engage in serious negotiations. But Iran was attacked twice at the very height of such diplomatic efforts, and yet continued its contacts with the United States. Moreover, we regularly hear absurd allegations being leveled against Iran at Security Council meetings that, for a year now, the IAEA has been unable to carry out its verification activities in Iran. However, the delegations leveling these very accusations cannot even say what exactly transpired in June 2025 and what made the IAEA inspectors' work impossible. I refer to the first series of US-Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. One gets the impression that some Security Council members, ignoring the root causes of the current escalation in the Middle East, have themselves begun to believe in the alternative reality they themselves have crafted, refusing to accept what is patently obvious and call a spade a spade. Mr. President, the Russian Federation categorically rejects attempts to further escalate tensions surrounding the Iranian issue without any grounds to do so. We also reject attempts to use the Security Council for political score settling with Tehran. Such actions by Western countries, first, may aggravate an already tense situation in the region, especially in light of recent developments. Second, they can further deepen the procedural crisis within the Council, which is having a negative impact on its work across various spheres, primarily within its subsidiary bodies. Currently, the Security Council should prioritize entirely different issues on its agenda. We bear responsibility for creating conditions for de-escalation and ongoing diplomatic efforts initiated with the assistance of Pakistan and a number of other states. It is these efforts that offer hope for the peaceful resolution of any conflicts and misunderstandings. We urge our Western colleagues to focus on this work, rather than on their phantom pains over Security Council Resolution 2231. Thank you.